We have a bit of a problem. This is the exterior door in our new addition to our house in Virginia. And this door is so far away from the living room that when we're sitting in the living room, especially if we're watching TV, people knock on the door and we can't hear it. So I need to install a doorbell. Hey everybody, this is Bill with Live Simple, Live Free. And like I said, we desperately need a doorbell here. From this door to get to the living room where we spend most of our time, you got to go through the mudroom, the new addition, all the way through the kitchen, and then into the living room and around the corner and back against the wall. And it's so far away that we can't hear when people knock, especially because people tend to go instead of really banging on the door. We tell people, please bang on the door, but they don't. They just tap, tap, tap. So we need a doorbell. So I put a doorbell in here recently, and most doorbells that you get nowadays are wireless, I guess Bluetooth, I don't know, whatever, but it worked. It was easy to install. We just put the button out there and the doorbell in there. But I found it to be a total pain in the neck because it all takes batteries, and it was like I had to replace the batteries every 3 months. I was constantly trying to keep that thing working, and I hated it. So I bought a real doorbell, one that's hardwired. And so it's going to be a lot more involved in getting it installed because I got to run wires everywhere. And then it's a low voltage system, so this is a transformer that came with it that I need to wire in to take it down to the low voltage to go to the doorbell buttons and that sort of thing. Going to have to crawl underneath to run the wires. It's going to be a pain in the neck to install. But once it's done, it's done. No more messing with batteries. It should always work. So we're looking forward to actually being able to hear when somebody's at our door. So this is a transformer that takes the 110 AC, the 110 volts AC, takes it down to 16 volts. And the way this is designed, there's a ring right here you can take off. And what you're supposed to do is drill a hole in the side of a box, and then you mount it on the side of the box on the outside like that, and the wires go inside to make the connections. But then your low voltage wires are outside the box here. If you put this in a wall like that and then cover it with sheetrock, you don't have access to this. If a wire comes off or if you need to replace this or anything like that, there's no access to it. So the only thing I could figure is that it has to go down underneath of the crawl space where you have access if you need to ever repair it. But then you're crawling down underneath the crawl space, and I don't know if you remember this crawl space, or if you're new to my channel, the crawl space in the back under where I'm sitting is only about that high, so you're crawling on your belly to get under there. I don't want to have to do that all the time. So, one of you made a comment that you like to watch my problem-solving skills, so I've solved this problem. Generally, this would go on a single box, but I realized that I got a double box, and look at this. It fits inside the box. So now I can mount this in the wall, run the wires, the 110 wires in, run the low voltage wires in, make all my connections inside, put a cover on it. That way if I ever have to do any repairs or replace the transformer, all I have to do is take the cover off and I have complete access to it. So I'm very happy with that solution that I just came up with. Now this is the wire that I'm using. It's 20 gauge 2-strand wire. I need to run it down through some holes in the floor and down underneath and up the other side, so I need to cut it to length before I do all of that. And the doorbell is going right here in the hallway at the end of the wall by the kitchen. So I want to take the wire, start it there, make sure I leave some extra so there's plenty of room. I'm going to drill it a hole here and run it up behind the paneling to here. And then there'll be a big molding here, so this will just go right there, right behind the molding. So I just need to start here, like I said, with some extra wire. Rather have too much than not enough. And then run it down here to get the length. Now this is a 100-foot roll of wire that I got here, and I'm only going to need probably half of it, so, and I don't have any other use for it. So when I cut this off, I'd rather cut it 10 feet too long and have to cut off all that excess than to have it a foot too short. So that's where it needs to be. I'm going to take an extra 4 or 5 feet here, and I'll have to cut off the excess, but it doesn't matter. I'm not using the rest of this anyway. Alright, I still got to drill holes down and run it underneath of the crawl space and up the other side. Okay, I got the hole drilled. I'm going to take this whole wire down underneath in the crawl space and stick it up through here. Since it's right next to this wire, it's going to be easy for me to find that hole, bring it up here, and then feed it through. I'm not going to take the camera down with me because it's really tight and really awkward down there. But so I will see you will see the wire coming up through here. So this is the hatch that gives me access to the crawl space. All right, wires coming up. I thought that was going to be hard to get through there, but I can see the hole, the light through there, and it went right in very easily. Okay. Install the doorbell here on the outside. Wow, these screws are not Phillips head, and the slot is so tiny, so thin, I don't have a screwdriver that'll fit it. How weird is that? I'm going to have to find a smaller screwdriver. Okay, so I've got the power jumped from here over to here with a wire that goes underneath. This is the wire that goes up to the doorbell and down, and it goes up to the doorbell button, and then it goes down to the actual doorbell. So I want to cut that right here. And strip the end of the wire. These little wires are hard to strip. Okay. Alright, got most of the wires stripped. This one comes into the box from the top. This one will come in from the bottom. And then this one just runs straight through uninterrupted. Now, since this is all low voltage, we don't really need to worry about, you know, sparks and all that kind of stuff, but the wire is uninterrupted, it won't be an issue there. This is the transformer, and those two wires go on here, the low voltage side, and then this hooks to the power side. Alright, that was sort of tedious because the wires were so small. Okay, so the transformer is now all hooked up. You can just push all of this right in there and it will be covered with a blank plate. Of course, this isn't hot until I make this connection here, and I'll turn the circuit breaker off before I wire that in. This is a tool called a voltage detector, and it tells me whether there's power in a wire or not. I'm about to hook this up, but I believe this wire is hot. And yes, indeed it is. There's power in there, which means I need to go and turn off the circuit breaker. Of course, when I do that, I think it also turns off the ceiling light, so it won't be as bright in here. So I've turned the circuit breaker off, and now this is not hot. Now eventually, after I put the sheetrock on here, this will be a receptacle. But you don't want to put the receptacle in until after the sheetrock's on because it gets in the way. So for now, I'm just hooking these up temporarily just to get from power from here to the doorbell. And then once I finish the sheetrock, then I will install the receptacle in here. Alright, let me turn the power back on. Okay, the ceiling light came back on, and now we have power in there again, so this should be powered up. Yep. Okay, this is for the actual doorbell that goes on the wall. I got the wire coming up through here from underneath, and the wire is going to run up through this crack right here. This will be covered with molding, and the doorbell will be mounted to the wall right here. But before I do all that work, I want to just hook up the doorbell temporarily. Right now the wire's here in the doorbell. I just want to hook it up and make sure that it works before I do all of that permanent installation up there. All right. So I got that hooked up temporarily. Let me go push the doorbell button out by the door and see if it works. Well, it works, but I'm surprised there's only one chime. Maybe it works better sitting up like this, I don't know. Well, I've never heard a doorbell quite like that with only one chime. But at least it works. At least now we can hear when somebody's at our door. Okay, I experimented a little bit and I figured out what happened. This is actually set up for two different doorbells, the front door and the rear door. I had this is the white, well, the red one is the power, and the white one is the one that goes to the doorknob. And I had it set on rear. So I moved it over here, and this one says front. And it has two different sounds, so you know if somebody's at the front or the rear. The front one gives me a ding dong, and the rear one only gives me a ding. There's no dong with it, so that way you can tell. So I moved it over to the front, and now I have a proper ding dong. So now that I've tested it and I know it works properly, now I can go ahead and install it up here where it's going to go permanently. So now this wire goes very nicely up into this little crack, and then like I said, eventually this will be covered with a big piece of molding. So I'm just going to run this up here and put in a staple temporarily to hold it until I put that piece of molding in there. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's give this a try. So I was about to start hanging the sheetrock on the walls in this room when I realized I needed to do this doorbell project because a lot of the wires here by the door are inside the wall behind the sheetrock. So that's now done. I now have a working doorbell. Now I can get to the sheetrock. I hope you've enjoyed this video, especially if you have never seen how a doorbell works before with the transformer and all that. So thanks for watching, everybody. Live simple, live free, you be blessed. We'll see you next time.